And now from McAllen City Hall, a meeting of the McAllen City Commission.
No, goes back into it, so that takes a while to load.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's City Commission meeting. And we'll start with a pledge of allegiance, followed by invocation by Commissioner Rudy Castillo.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May all bow our heads, please. Dear Lord, I pray that you guide us always in making some tough decisions for this beautiful city. Give us clarity so we can effectively tackle each part of today's agenda. I also ask for blessings for everyone in this meeting. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. No proclamations?
One presentation.
Okay, we have a presentation, recognition of the Team Red, White, and Blue Partnership.
Mayor, City Commissioner, City Manager, just want to take the time to thank you guys for letting us this day. It's our annual presentation with our partners that we've been working together with on our 4th of July Independence Day run. We have our partners with us today, Texas Regional Bank, and of course, the team Red, White, and Blue.
JB, can you get some of these folks over here on this side?
Yeah, come on.
So we can see them on TV?
Balance it out, balance it out.
Okay.
We're so excited to be here. The City of McAllen and the McAllen Parks and Recreation Department are so excited to once again be partnering with Team Red, White, and Blue and Texas Regional Bank. We want to thank Team Red, White, and Blue, their runners and volunteers, for their ongoing collaboration in making our Independence Day 4K run a success. For 4 years now, we've enjoyed partnering with Team RWB, and this fun, exciting race has really grown because of the partnership. They have been great partners through the years, and with Texas Regional Bank being added for the 2022 and 23 events, the event has continued to gather runners from all over the region and the state for that matter. And it truly is a great way for our runners to celebrate Independence Day and participate in the McAllen Marathon Scott Crane Run. And at this time, I'd like to ask Jamie from Texas Regional Bank to join us for the check presentation.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Jamie Brown Rosas, and I'm here with Nidia Bravo and Elias Trevino, and also Naila Rosas, and we are here proudly representing Texas Regional Bank. Just want to say thank you to the City of McAllen for allowing us this opportunity to come up here and give some brief remarks. We were honored to participate in the Independence Day festivities for 2 years in a row now. We were able to have our 4th of July float 100% dedicated to veterans, meaning that each one of the branches of military was represented on our float, so including Senator Hinojosa and my dad. I was excited about that, and a couple of others as well. So it was neat for our employees, it was neat for our city, everyone involved, so we thank you. And we're especially proud today to be able to present this check to our veterans, Team Red, White, and Blue, in the amount of $6,695.50. Thank you so much for your service. Thank you.
All right, I guess it's my turn. Well, here we go, April. On behalf of Team Red, White, and Blue, the McAllen-Edinburgh chapter, or over 800 members across the valley, I want to say thank you to the City of McAllen, to Texas Regional Bank. I want to make sure I get it right, that the plug goes well.
It's okay.
It's a lot of support. For the last 4 years, as was mentioned by Karina, we've enjoyed this partnership with the City of McAllen, participating in the 4th of July activities, and then of course our 4K run. which has really grown exponentially over the years, to be a symbol of what Team Red, White, and Blue is nationally. We are a nonprofit organization that enjoys and really enriches veterans' lives in more facets than one. It's social, mental health, lifestyle, community, and family. And representing the 5 branches, including now Space Force, I guess, if you call it a branch. I don't know yet. Anybody in the Air Force? I don't want to offend. But it really is a team environment, along with our civilian supporters, veteran families, dependents. We really enjoy what we have with the City of McAllen. It's an example of what can happen when a private organization like ours works with the public sector and city government, especially Parks and Recreation, to support a race like this that is part of course, of the McAllen Marathon Scott Crane Series. It really does well. And so again, on behalf of Team Red, White, and Blue, oh, by the way, my name is Rosendo Villagran. I am a Marine Corps veteran like Senator Hinojosa. This is April Garza. She's a Navy veteran as well, first responder. And Ms. Rubio and I, one of our civilian supporters and a member of our board. We want to say thank you. So thank you again, and to a continued partnership that really blesses a lot of people in many ways. Thank you again.
Also forgot to do a shout out to Elias. Elias was on our float. He works for Texas Regional Bank, and he was in the Navy. That's right. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your service.
The next, we have public hearing.
Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. Tonight, we have 8 items listed in the routine, 5 rezonings and 3 conditional use permits. As always, they come with a favorable recommendation from Planning and Zoning and had no opposition. They are a rezone from C3 to R3A at 2701 West State Highway 107, a rezone from R1 to R3A at 2701 West State Highway 107, a rezone from C3 to R3T at 7901 North 10th Street West, a rezone from R3A to R3T at 7901 North 10th Street East, a rezone from R1 to R3T at 6201 North Ware Road, a conditional use permit for 1 year for a vape shop at 404 South 15th, a conditional use permit for life of the use for a guest house at 1109 Maple Avenue, and a conditional use permit amendment for 1 year for a food truck park at 4300 South Ware.
Anybody here to speak against any of these items? Yes. And this is on which one, sir?
This is on item B4. And I signed up for public.
We're not there yet.
We're not there yet? Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
We're not there yet.
But take a seat real close.
Yeah, right.
Almost there. Almost.
That's the batter's
Okay,
box.
anybody to speak against any of these issues? No, if not,
Mayor, I make a motion to approve items 1A1 through 8.
do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Item B.
And Mayor, I've got to abstain just from item 1A3 and 1A4.
Yes, sir. This is an initial zoning to C3 at 13931 North Ware Road East. This property is located along the west side of North Ware Road, approximately 300 feet south of Russell Road. Adjacent zoning is R1 to the east, and then ETJ immediately to the north, west, and south. Surrounding uses include single-family homes, a pet boarding locale, ag, and vacant land. The applicant is requesting C3 for a planned commercial development. The trends along this area of where are a mix of residential and commercial. It was presented at the August 8th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. It received no opposition, and it was unanimously recommended for approval.
Anybody here to speak against the item?
No, not yet.
No?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
I'll
Item
be
B10.
abstaining from that item as well.
This is an initial zoning to R2 at 13931 North Ware Road West. This property is located also along the west side of North Ware Road, approximately 300 feet south of Russell. Like the other one, it is ETJ to the south, north, and west, and then R1 across where. The applicant is requesting R2 for this section for a planned duplex development. And the item was presented August 8th as well. There was no opposition, and it was unanimously recommended for approval.
Anybody here to speak against the item?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Item 3, B3.
This is an initial zoning to AO at 18,900 North Abram Road. This property is located on the east side of North Abram Road. It does measure approximately 1,288 acres. Adjacent zoning is ETJ all around, with surrounding uses including ag land as well as vacant land. The applicant is requesting AO as an interim zoning prior to developing the property for future use. Trends along this area are mostly agricultural. It was presented at the July 26th Planning and Zoning Commission. There was no opposition, and it was unanimously recommended for approval.
Anybody here to speak against the item?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mayor,
Against?
if I make a correction, I think I made a second motion on 1B2, but it's related to item 1B1, so I'm going to withdraw that and recuse myself from that item as well.
From,
1B2.
So you have to take the vote.
okay. So can we take a vote again on item B1?
B2.
B2.
I'll make the second, is that what it was?
Yeah.
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
Next item is a rezone from R1 to R2 at 324 South Cynthia Street. I will start off by saying that the applicant has requested this item to be tabled. There are some people in opposition, so I can present the item, or you can hear them out.
Which is, because we had similar issues with, this is, okay, because we had similar issues, but with the other one, number 4, correct?
Yes, sir.
Right.
And then they requested it be tabled. Commission, what do we do as a courtesy? We allowed tabling the other ones, but.
I agree. I think as a courtesy for those present here to allow them to address the board, since we
Agreed.
all are here. Yeah.
So-
Take advantage
We
of
can't
that.
guarantee you can make the next meeting. so-
Right.
Great. So this property is located along the west side of South Cynthia, approximately 115 feet north of East Dallas. Adjacent zoning is R1 all around, with surrounding uses being primarily single-family homes. The applicant is requesting R2 for a duplex development. Staff had previously received 2 phone calls in opposition, citing their desire to keep the area single-family homes. The item was presented at the August 8th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, where 3 neighbors spoke in opposition, again urging their desire to keep the area single-family homes. Likewise, 2 people spoke in favor of the development due to them owning 4 nearby lots and they wanting to rezone as well if this one would be approved. After some discussion, P&Z proceeded to recommend approval of the rezoning on a 4-to-1 vote. Since that meeting, we have received a signed petition in opposition, and that has triggered supermajority for approval.
Okay. Anybody here to speak against the item?
There you go. All right, right one. Thank you. All right, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Commissioners, I live down the street from this property. I've lived there for over 20 years. It's a very good neighborhood, a very safe neighborhood, very little traffic. My son grew up skateboarding up and down the street, stopping by, saying hello to the firemen, who, by the way, are next door to this property. And there's been very little turnover over the last 20 years. And in the last about 3 years, we started to see older properties get torn down, rebuilt to single-family dwellings. Very nice. We're all in favor of that. But in about the last year to 2 years, we've been starting to see more of these multi-housing buildings being put up. For instance, there's an apartment building just 2 or 3 blocks away, right where it's on the corner of 2nd Street. And they put a triplex where there was a single family just 3 or 4 houses up on the other side of the street from this property. And there's other properties for sale, and it just sounds like there's others that they're wanting to rezone. And so, speaking on behalf of the residents of the community, we don't see any upside for us. What this does is it devalues our property. It makes our neighborhood less desirable for long-term potential residents. It multiplies the number of people in the neighborhood, and more than that, it multiplies the number of cars on the street where our kids are riding their bikes and their skateboards. So I see only one upside, and that's for the person building this, because they can charge 2 rents instead of 1. So I would just like to speak behalf on the neighbors and say we would like this trend not to continue. We would like to keep it single-family dwellings because we would like to keep the integrity, the safety, and the charm of our neighborhood intact. And so I would like to ask you to please deny this proposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hi, good afternoon. Patricia Longoria. I live at 400 East Dallas Avenue. I was asked to come speak from a traffic standpoint on Dallas Avenue. Dallas Avenue is a minor arterial. There's a fire station, like the gentleman had mentioned, so we are not eligible for speed humps. We do experience a lot of errant traffic, cut-through traffic through our street because we do have signals at each end of Dallas, which is great for the residents and the fire station, but because it is a safe passage, people will come through our neighborhood. It is a very walkable neighborhood. We don't have sidewalks, but the neighbors still do walk around. That's how I met most of my neighbors, them walking their dogs or me walking my dog. And they are older homes. I'm only the second owner of our house that was built in 1974. It was built by Jim Moffitt. They're older homes. And you know, even from an environmental standpoint, we have clocked, I think, 17 or 18 different species of birds in our neighborhood. And we even have a flock of, I think it's heron. And every once in a while, you'll see one run over because the neighbors know that they're there, so we drive through there safely, but other people don't. And, you know, we'll end up with these poor dead birds on the side of the road. So with a little bit of research into this property, this is one parcel of four, well, it's one block, it's one section of a 4-parcel property. And so it's not just going to be at one duplex that you're adding. When we added the 90 units on that 2nd Street apartment complex, we added 640 daily trips through our neighborhood, peak hours 43 and 51. And this doesn't trigger a TIA, but as we piecemeal all of these little redevelopments, we will add the traffic without the traffic improvements that would be necessary for Dallas, which would then in turn cost the city, sitting at that seat at one point, to try to find some kind of solution. And I guess the only solution here would be to stop the growth and not allow any more forced traffic, any more generation from the neighborhood, and just keep it at the single family home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? And the applicant is in there? Okay, does the commission want to table it for?
Motion to table item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Thank you. Yes, sir? Yeah, I guess we can.
I recommend just take a motion to take it off the table.
Yeah.
When there's comments.
Make a motion to remove said item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. And go ahead, sir.
I'm sorry, this is not my property. I will just around the area. Please.
You got it.
I am one of the persons who requested to be look into these further because we have some other properties around that area that are highlighted in yellow that we wanted to develop. What they're saying is true about the streets being nice to walk around and kids on bicycles, I guess, and everything like that. However, most of this is taking place east of this area, not on the area. If any of you drive by around that area, you see that houses are really, really old. They're falling apart. A lot of houses that are falling apart, they're really vacant. Nobody's really taking care of them, looking at them, or having any desire to fix them. I live in 312 South Peking Street, and our property taxes have doubled in the last 5 years. And for me, it's amazing that the prices have just gone up like that. Now, we wanted to keep up. We wanted to do something for the neighborhood. We wanted to develop further, but unfortunately, it was not possible. Red marks in your on the picture, those are people who rent the properties there. They're not owners. Blue are multi-families, 3 or 4 families living in that property as you see it. And the ones in yellow are vacant, and there's like, there was a suggestion about the Chicago alley going across. If you see that yellow, that's its block house. I requested to put actually some pictures before over the phone, and they said it was not possible, that I can just bring something on paper. So I'd really like to see if it's possible for further meetings to actually bring something that I can actually show. A video of all the properties that I walk by, that you can actually see the houses the way they are. And if you can see the houses east of that, I guess the fire department, they're beautiful houses. I mean, over there, they're excellent. There are $300,000-$400,000 houses on that way. Our houses are less than $200,000. And a lot of the houses are even less than $170,000. So, I mean, they need a fix-up. And in order to, I mean, if you have multiple houses on each lot, it's going to bring more revenue to the city as well. I know there's going to be more traffic, but, I mean, we have to start somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else, for or against? Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion to table?
Yeah, on B4, I'll make a motion to table item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
We need a motion to take item B5 off the table.
Motion to remove from table.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries off the table.
This property is located on the east side of Bicentennial, approximately 740 feet north of Northgate Avenue. It does total about 8.1 acres. Adjacent zoning is R1 to the west, south, and east, R1, R3T, and R4 towards the north, with surrounding uses including single-family homes, townhomes, and mobile homes. The development, or the applicant rather, is requesting R3A for a proposed 20-lot detached duplex development. Since then, it has gone up to 22 lots. Detached duplex development, which would then be 84 units. Staff has received a petition from neighboring residents in opposition, citing traffic, property values, and overdevelopment of the area in a mainly single-family home area. This petition has triggered supermajority. The item was presented at the June 20th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, where several residents spoke in opposition. After hearing the applicant and the residents, P&Z recommended disapproval of the rezoning. I believe we have both the applicant and some opposition here today.
Okay. Do we have anybody to speak against the item?
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. Well, thank you for giving us the time to speak here today. As you know, it's been quite a while that we've been coming back, and we just wanted to continue.
Can we have your name and address for the
I'm
record?
sorry, yes, Laura Garcia, and my address is 1325 Ozark Avenue. I live in Villaggio, which is north of this property. Actually, my backyard would be right on the line of this property. And we are opposed to this, and reason being is we love the city of McAllen. We love the economic growth that we've been seeing, the development. It's beautiful, and we are for this, right, for economic growth. However, we do ask to keep this area residential, single-family homes. Most of the area here in North McAllen is single-family homes. We have several large homes of acreage, the gated subdivision, which I live, and we would like to continue this area as such. Bicentennial was built to create access to South McAllen, a quick access from North McAllen, and none of the subdivisions actually tap into Bicentennial for that reason. If anything, north of Nolana does not tap out to Bicentennial for that reason. And I think this would create a lot of chaos, especially I had a daughter that was going to Mac High, so I would have to take Northgate and Bicentennial. And as it is, it's a lot of traffic. And that's, you know, not that many developments yet there. So having these many apartments there, the fourplexes, would create a lot of traffic. Also, like I said, we'd like to keep the area as such as residential. There's a lot of development going up. I mean, just recently was announced a $210 million development there in Wisconsin and 10th Street, and they're all high-end townhomes and apartments. So we like to keep just the same flow of situation here. We do welcome development there. Townhomes, single-family homes, continue gated subdivisions. The reason that we all purchased this was precisely for that, because of the area, the quality of life, for our families and our children. So I've grown up in McAllen, North McAllen most of my life, and, especially that area. And that's all we're requesting for you to please just listen. Like they mentioned, most of the residents in the area are opposed to it. We do welcome any single-family homes and townhomes. We'd love to have more neighbors, but keeping it as such. So we really, we ask you to, just listen to our request, and hopefully we keep McAllen beautiful and our growth as, how it's been planned throughout the years.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good afternoon, City Commissioners and Mayor Villalobos. You may have seen the objections that came from the Villaggio subdivision. They're in the file. Several of them from my neighbors are here today. Raise your hands if you're from the Villaggio. There's more of us who just couldn't make it or have been trying to make the meetings. But I just want to let you know, Ms. Garcia, who just spoke, basically spoke what we wanted to say. So we all echo her statements, and we'd ask you to give this serious attention. We're all extremely concerned about this, and we hope that you'll deny this proposal.
Thank you.
For the record, Ray Reynaldo Merino, M-E-R-I-N-O. I'm at 1213 Ozark. I live in the Villaggio. I also own another lot in the Villaggio at 1208 Providence. And I moved there from Villa Norte, a good subdivision, but I wanted to get somewhere more private where I thought there'd be some quietness around, and hopefully we can keep it that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else speak against the item?
Esteemed Commissioners, Mayor, good afternoon.
Your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Humberto Tijerina. The address is in Northgate. I'll be glad to expound on it. I've submitted a letter, and they should have it in writing. You've been selected by the community to make sure that we have the proper decisions made to effectuate the vision for McAllen. By now, this matter's been tabled 4 times. 2 commissioners have sought the need to recuse themselves. But the reality is that this decision is simple. It's an easy decision for many reasons. Number 1, the city staff has recommended this approval. Number 2, the city attorney has recommended this approval. Number 3, the city manager has recommended this approval. Number 4, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended this approval. And finally, the community has overwhelmingly stated their disapproval for this 4-plex subdivision to rezoning to occur. Now, I say it's a simple decision, and you can see why, but just in case there's any doubt still lingering, let me allow you to take you back to December 10th, 2007. McAllen leadership did something really special for our community, and they adopted the Foresight McAllen Comprehensive Plan. And when adopting it, the city leaders specifically said the following: the adoption of this plan makes a statement about the city's commitment to good planning and its preparedness. The plan's vision declares that through following the plan, McAllen will be the valley leader economically, culturally, and environmentally. The plan represents a consensus among the community's leadership and its citizens regarding the quality and character of future development and the infrastructure to support it. So, with regards to this rezoning request, it's important to note that the primary trend of this area is primary single-family residential, and it's therefore designated as a suburban residential area. Number 2, Bicentennial, as you all are aware, has been designated a high-speed arterial road. What does the plan say with regards to that? The McAllen plan clearly states that the property access to high-speed arterials should be fully restricted. So think about that for a bit. In this planning that went on, The area is single-family residential and property access to high-speed arterials should be fully restricted. This alone is overwhelming reason why to disapprove of this rezoning request. Finally, consider this. We have drainage issues in the area. There's flooding when there's big storms in the back. That whole area is flooded. I don't know if the developer has taken that into consideration. If the development was to result, imagine the traffic that would happen. But not only that, take into account holidays, parties, or if there was a fire that ended up happening in the area, the traffic getting out of there would be hellish. Finally, 15 seconds to conclude. This approval of the rezoning is the only decision to make by each and every one of you, and everyone here knows this. Therefore, I encourage you to vote in favor of progress in accordance with the McAllen plan, in line with the wishes of the community, and against the rezoning request. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else wishes to speak against the item? Yes, sir.
Thank you. My name is Gene Reed. I live at 1317 Ozark Avenue, adjacent to where the property is in question. And I just wanted to highlight a few recaps. Kudos to my community that has come together to voice their opinions. I've reached out to many in the community, and everyone that I've spoken to has very great concerns about this particular property, mainly because of the way it would impact the rest of the neighborhood. And a couple of small items that are really not small items are the access to Bicentennial. The city spent millions of dollars creating a high-capacity thoroughfare with none of the other subdivisions having access. If you look at the plot plan as to how it was going to be laid out, the entry point to get in and out of that is very small. God forbid there's ever a catastrophic situation where people have to leave quickly, it would be chaotic. The other thing is Mr. Tiarina had spoken about the flooding. I actually have a picture if you'd like to see it. Be happy to show this to you. This is from the Realtors website. It shows the type of flooding that is constantly, the type of flooding that occurs in that area. And in the plat that they drew, the retention pond that they have is no bigger than a small swimming pool. And what's happening is they're taking permeable land, excuse me, that water drains through, and basically clearing it, and it's going to be cement and blacktop. So there is no permeable land remaining. So if we have any type of water whatsoever, the water situation is going to impact many of the neighbors on Northgate, many of us on the Villaggio side, just because it has nowhere to go other than that point. So I don't think that those have been addressed properly. There's no green space, there's no amenities, there's nothing there but house after house after house. So that's the main thing. And then the other thing I want to remind you of is that we've been talking about this for quite some time. We got a notification in the mail in May. We attended 2 P&Z meetings, planning and zoning meetings. One was tabled. At the next meeting where we met, in my opinion, was rather contentious because the concerns that we brought forth were met with attacks to the city council, to the P&Z, threats that if they didn't get this approved, that it would be turned into 300 tiny homes for Haitian immigrants, and I quote. So we tried to have our communication, but that communication never happened, even though it had been claimed. So we haven't gotten any feedback and from or input. We would like to compromise. We would like to come up with a valid solution. I
Sir,
think
that's your
Mr.
time. I need to ask you to wrap it up,
had
please.
suggested looking into the possibility of a PUD. So there are other alternatives, but we've gotten no cooperation from the other side. As such, we are in agreement in our area that it that it not be
Mayor, that's time.
move forward.
Thank you, sir.
My apologies for running over.
Anybody else speak against the item? Not anybody for the item.
Hello, my name is Darth Vader, otherwise known as Tim Wilkins, the developer. Just to start off, to go against the opposition, everything that they've complained about so far is about the dynamics of their own specific neighborhoods. They live in high-density townhouses, 0 lot line. They have no yards. What I've proposed is actually less density than what they live on. Traffic. Can we tell them to please just keep it to a minimum? They say I've been contentious. I fully admit that I do have my personality, but I have tried to be respectful with them, and it has not been reciprocal, and I'm kind of at my limit. But with regard to traffic, they exit onto 10th Street. Okay, there is no chance, or very minimal chance, that any traffic from this development is going to be any greater with fourplexes versus single-family residential. It's a piece of land that's been vacant for its entire existence. Bicentennial happened to come through and bisect it, made it now usable. I'm going to go in and just read my statement. They have opposed literally any and all uses other than R1. They state the R1 designation has been in place for years and served the community well. The statement's true, and the subject property has been ag-exempt grassy field for its entire history. They next state changing the zoning would hypothetically have negative consequences. The statement is vague and ambiguous. There is simply no way to logically address the vagueness of such a hypothetical. There's simply no way this 8-acre tract will remain a vacant green space forever. They then get a little more specific and state that hypothetically development of the lot will create traffic congestion. The reality is the density of my proposed fourplex development of 86 units in fourplexes will create no more additional traffic than an R1 subdivision would. Additionally, there is not one complainant who actually exits or enters their property on Bicentennial. Villaggio can only enter and exit via private drive to 10th Street. In order for this development to impact them, they'd have to exit 10th, do a U-turn on Northgate on the Bicentennial to reach us. It's highly improbable many, if any, would take that route. Regarding the 3 Northgate residences who oppose, they too do not exit or enter onto Bicentennial. They have direct access to Northgate. They mentioned development would hypothetically reduce property values. The reality is simply not true. It will be an $8 to $10 million development with a benefit to the city's tax base. It would provide above average rental housing in the wealthiest area of town. Our city has thrived when a logical, homogeneous mix of various zoning uses are mixed together. The entirety of 10th Street is commercial land that backs to residential. You drive around town, you'll see a logical mix of various property types, zoning, all within each other. Regarding Villaggio, when they purchased, each owner did so knowing they were right next to a high-density trailer park. Only within the last 3 years has that property been rehabbed to make it more presentable. There are a total of 3 massive trailer parks in relevant vicinity to them. What we propose to build is much higher quality than what they found acceptable when they purchased. That statement is the most impactful statement that I'll make today about this matter. Regarding the opposing residences on Northgate, the reality is the entire back 50% of each one of their lots is zoned ag exempt with animals. 1420 Northgate actually hired my tax consulting firm, stating his taxes were too high, and we were successful in reducing his property tax value, lowering his bill. It's totally disingenuous to claim that we are going to harm property values when they are hiring professionals to reduce our appraised value of their property. The opposition on the corner has horses, cattle, goats. It's a stretch to say that the development here will be any more of a nuisance than defecating farm animals that they have on their own property. That's just the case against the opposition. I've got a similar time for the case for rezoning if I could have the time to do that.
You know, I think there was about 4 or 5 people who spoke. I think it'd be only fair.
Regarding the case for rezoning, thank you, Mayor. The subject property has been for sale for 11 years. I had no less than 4 meetings with city staff when the project was initiated. The only development we ever spoke of was fourplexes. The concerns about this property all came about after nearby residents were mailed notices of potential zoning change. After notices went out and people began calling to inquire, city staff only told the callers what maximum density was hypothetically allowed within the requested zoning. That hypothetical density was something around 475 apartments. The actual development intent was never discussed with callers or disseminated, and this caused an unnecessary panic from the city to the people here today. Only a few days before my initial planning and zoning meeting was I informed the density was even a possibility. Now, the reason for the R3A zoning request is multi-pronged. During meetings with city staff, it was mentioned that fourplex zoning ordinance was antiquated and needed some updating for a variety of reasons. According to Edgar, the ordinances get revamped and retooled next month, and when that occurs, what we were discussing would most likely be staff recommended. Is that an accurate regurgitation?
I can address that.
All right. The fourplex zoning requires sprinklers in many cases, which every builder obtains variances to avoid. The R3A zoning allows a storage unit to be constructed for each unit. We had a desire to utilize the extra space we had on the larger lot sizes to provide more amenities for the tenant. Also, our private drive has to come in at an angle, and it ends in a cul-de-sac, which creates a few lots that are different sizes. One would fit only 3 units, the other would fit 5. For all these reasons, R3A made sense because it covered all of what we needed instead of trying to fit a square peg in a round hole with a dozen variances. In the packet that I've given to you, I've provided printouts of the proposed design layouts of the units. This product has been built all over town, most recently on the south side off of McAllen, Yuma, where they built about 150 of them. We're actually copying that development with that developer's permission. I've also provided a copy of the engineering fee proposal we've been operating under for the development. The engineering proposal and the plat, which has been approved by planning and zoning, all verify the intent is to build fourplexes as I described. Last in your packet is a copy of a check for $35,000 and a reservation contract whereby I have sold lots 13 through 19 to an independent builder I have no association with. The proceeds of that sale, $800,000, are intended to be utilized for infrastructure development costs. The lots being sold will be heavily restricted to ensure conformity to material usage and exterior design to create a unique, same-style private community. The fact that I've sold the middle of this project out is more evidence that we're not going to just do an about-face and try to put in a massive apartment complex in here. With all the above, there just simply is no way the zoning request is some nefarious ploy to undo all that has been done to go and attempt to build 400-plus apartments, which in reality simply will not fit. My intent is to build 84 to 86 single-story apartments. I respectfully request you approve the zoning request for the realities of everything I've stated, not deny based on hypothetical concerns that have 0% chance of occurring. I can assure you all that once this project is complete, the opposition will have 0 complaints if they even notice any activity there at all. And lastly, I got 3 sentences left. Some of the commissioners have expressed willingness to do R3T for townhomes. That type of zoning is going to create higher density. It's going to require 2 or 3 story townhomes, which would be far worse for the neighbors by way of intrusion. It'd be much more costly to build, and it'd be almost impossible to sell in this economic climate with interest rates skyrocketing. You have to look no further than to these neighbors for proof of what I say. I was part of the original development group that owned where Villaggio is. The original developer tried to put in some garden homes, got foreclosed on. Alonzo Cantu took it over, replatted to do higher density, made it work. I'm very well versed in real estate, and I know the same series of events will occur to me if I'm forced into a development which simply will not work in today's climate. There's nothing proposed here that isn't reasonable and logical. I ask you please approve my request. If you cannot or will not, please cite specific reasons why. I'm done.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any questions? Okay, you need to make sure that everybody is there. Anybody else that wants to speak against the item?
Marino.
He already spoke.
Oh, you might have a rebuttal.
Yeah, we got to make sure that everybody speaks.
Sure.
Excuse me. Hi, good evening. Patricia Merino, 1213 Ozark Avenue, McAllen, Texas. I oppose it. We all have backyards. You know, that is incorrect. You need to drive by a little bit. And our backyards will be very close to all the trees that we have there. So I saw the plat that he had with where they were gonna build it, and literally they'll be like right in my backyard. They'll be seeing everything. Whatever he decides to do is right to all the backyards. We're gonna lose all the trees, all the greenery is gonna be gone. That's just personal. That has nothing to do with any laws or whatever you guys do. It's just personal. We want to keep it pretty. We want to keep it residential. We all agree that we buy in that area because we want to keep it that area. We don't want to bring that into that area. It is just like commercial, you keep that there. Other residentials, you keep it there. We just want to keep it this way, the way it was intended in the plan that he mentioned in 2007 or 2010. So I'm very nervous. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Good afternoon. I'm Patrick Wilcox. I'm a retired pediatric dentist and been living at Villaggio for the last 5.5 years. And I just don't want to go over what everybody just said, but you know, thinking about it, what is the problem of keeping it as a single family home? That's what we're saying. I mean, we want the city to be able to benefit from the taxes and the development and everything. But I don't think the area is a good area for all the units that the gentleman wants to do in that area. We already talked about the traffic and everything else, but I don't know why he doesn't want to consider or, you know, doing a high-end type of single family home, you know, and everybody's going to benefit from it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for or against?
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Let's just grab it real quick.
That's okay.
Martha Wilcox, and I live at 1117 Providence Avenue. It is not, I live on one of the garden homes, not the townhomes. So it's all of us that are opposed because of the same reasons. That other project that was just announced is going to have a bunch of units, or they are proposed. It has been approved. And so it is, again, saying that we don't need that many more units, more traffic in the same near area. Keeping it as R1, it will be our preference if it's considered. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
To clarify their point about why R1 on this specific piece won't work, the nature of the way it's laid out does not give you the space or the width to sell $200,000 and $300,000 lots, which are going to have $1 million homes needed to justify the land cost. So it just doesn't work financially. It's a numbers game. That's why we're talking about wanting to do upscale fourplex rental properties. That's it. I mean, and I can't say it enough. The property is going to develop one way or another. What we're proposing produces no more traffic than what a single-family residence would do. It's just a fact.
Thank you. And this item was tabled several times. That's why I'm trying to give everybody an opportunity that wants to talk to go ahead and talk. And we respect, of course, everybody's time, but we also respect your time. And everybody made an effort to come several times. So if there's anybody else that wants to speak, this is it.
Just real quick, Mayor. I wanted to add, like Mr. Wilkins said earlier, yes, we do have trailer parks behind, and I'm speaking from experience. I sold more than 90% of villages to work at the time for Mr. Cantu. The biggest hurdle I had was that, the trailer houses. When it came to financing and going to get appraisals, when it came to financing the houses for the buyers, that always came up, and it was a huge hurdle. And building fourplexes will harm us for resale purposes. Because usually when you sell a house, they do a radius of like 25 miles. I had to get out of North McAllen and go into 2nd Street, Dove, get comps from Mission and stuff like that. So this is why I'm saying, yes, it's gonna keep the good, single family home that's going to help everybody's property value. Yeah, it's not whether it's going to go down or go up. It's just harm when it comes to resale purposes. A lot of people want to move and purchase lots or homes in areas like this because they want to keep that value of quality of life and their property. So it does harm the property. Like we said earlier, we do welcome. We're not saying for it not to be developed ever. No, we do welcome neighbors. We want to have neighbors, but I think it should just stay in the single family, in the zoning that it is right now. Opening it to what he's requesting, maybe he's not going to do it, but then the other lots that are empty, other developers can say, okay, you know what, he did fourplexes, but I do want to do the apartments, the 3, 4, 5-story apartments. So that opens up the can of worms, to others. So that's why we want to keep it like that. And like I said, just keep McAllen beautiful, keep that zone area nice, and we welcome any neighbors that are in the single-family home.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name's Abdallah Khalifa, and I live in 1101 Northgate Lane. And I'm here against it because, okay, we've been there for over 25 years. All my daughters were raised there, and we just purchased the property on 10th Street just so we, I don't want someone to go build just anything there. We want to keep it, like it is right now. And I think apartments would really, and again, the street is real narrow, and I think it's a bad idea. So, thank you.
Thanks, sir. Thank you.
2 seconds. He's not in the notification impact area of the project matter, and I've had some very serious legal battles with his stepdaughter. There's a lot of emotion with some of these people that are targeted to me personally, not necessarily the project. And, so I don't know if everybody that spoke here today lives in the project impact area. I know for sure he doesn't, and for whatever that's worth, it ought to be discounted.
Sure, no, I'm pretty sure the commission will take into consideration the factors necessary for this one. Yes, sir.
My name's Edward Pequeño, and I live at 1609 Northgate Lane, right on the corner of Northgate, Bicentennial, and Main. Please don't put another street behind me. I'll be in an island. So I'm in opposition to this project that's been going on right now. I hear a lot of people in my neighborhood that are denying this, and I want to let you know that I am also against this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, I guess the one final one.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate the time. This will be real brief. We've heard Wilkins state several times that he doesn't know if anybody here is from the affected area. I'm here from the affected area, and I'm sure he knows that. He says that that less traffic is bound to happen from a single family. That there's no less traffic bound to happen from single family, and that the fourplexes would actually help. I don't understand what kind of single family he's planning on building, but if you build a normal single family, I seriously doubt that 88 vehicles, which is what he wants to build, 88 units, are going to match the amount of vehicles in single family housing that is designated for. He spoke about Bellagio and 10th Street and says, hey, they have access to 10th Street, it's not going to affect them. That's not the issue here. The issue here is that there should be no access to Bicentennial because it doesn't go along with the McAllen plan. Regardless of what happened in Bellagio, that's no bearing on the decision that needs to be made here today. He tries to mention the trailer parks that is north of the area. Those are grandfathered in. They were in there years before McAllen even acquired that property, so that does have no bearing in the decision that is going to be made today. Finally, he says it doesn't work financially. Well, I'm here to tell you that maybe it doesn't work financially for him. Maybe he hasn't figured out a way to make this work, or maybe it's not the right time for whatever kind of project he has in his mind to develop. Let's wait for the right person to come along and make sure they choose beauty and form that goes along with the McAllen plan that we all are here to abide by. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
2
Yes, sir,
seconds.
real quick.
This guy filed a lawsuit trying to blow up my sale. We beat him in court. He lost in court, and he's just a bitter Betty is all it is. He's trying to buy it. So this little smooth talking silver tongue lawyer nonsense is all that is. It's a
Thank you so much. I think we've heard enough. I think we need the commission knows there's issues regarding the item. It's been tabled. We've been here, I think, 3 or 4 times, and there's things we need to consider. Anything else we need to hear about?
So I do want to address a couple of things, just for the public's sake. When staff does receive a phone call, we, as planners, we have to let them know what the impact could be, right? So when the public calls and says, what would they be able to build? We have to tell them that by right, with our code, if it gets R3A, then there's 200, 300 units that are possible, right? We don't make a statement on how feasible it may or may not be, what the developer specifically is promising to do. We have to tell them what the code says. I will also say that, yes, one of the things that we are addressing in the new code is the fact that currently you need apartment zone to build detached duplexes. That's something that we're 100% going to fix, or we're looking to fix. Obviously, the code should come before you in a couple of months. I'm not going to go ahead and say that would the new code be implemented, would we be recommending approval? I can't say that. The only reason I want to caveat that is because at this point we don't know, or we haven't finalized rather, what will be permitted, conditional, and prohibited uses for each zone. So there may be something in there that will make me think twice, but the idea currently is to create a zone, a duplex zone, that will allow for your detached duplexes, which is what he's proposing. But again, what is before you guys today is apartments, and legally with our current code, they would be able to build around 300 units, and so that is where staff came from to recommend his approval, and that's where P&Z looked at it as well.
Okay, then we're looking into, I guess everybody needs to realize there's different things, and this is not easy. I know, Mr. Tiguerina, it's an easy decision. I wish it were. I wish it were, because we need to balance the interests of course, all the people around the surrounding areas, and we also have to balance the interests of the landowner, because at the very end, it's not a detention pond either. I mean, they need to develop. Somebody's going to develop one way or another. So we need to figure out what we are going to do at this certain point in time, because it may change in a few months. Correct?
Correct. Yes, sir.
So, I mean, we may be revisiting this in a few months again. So, excuse me. So any questions, issues?
I have a question. They mentioned bicentennial.
Yes, sir.
There's a problem with bicentennial to be in the entrance over there. Can you explain a little bit of
Well, I mean, bicentennial is controlled access. We don't want to give too many curb cuts. Now, at the same time, we can't prohibit a property from being able to access a road, right? The idea right now, and traffic, or Eduardo can say a little bit more about it, is to have La Floresta Phase 3, which is just to the north of this property, to the west of Bellagio, and this property to share one access point off of Bicentennial. So we limit, again, those curb cuts off of Bicentennial. That is the proposal from staff right now. I know each subdivision is currently kind of wanting their own access, but that is yet to be seen if that will happen.
So, anything else? Rudy, Omar?
Are we gonna have more discussion, or?
Yeah, no, we have, Roy, and issues with the curb cuts, all that type of stuff. I know Bicentennial, how many do we have, or what are we looking at?
Well, I mean, we try to be objective when we're looking at curb cuts on Bicentennial, Mayor. This property has limited areas where it can access public roads. So as Edgar said, this would probably fall into one of the exceptions to allow it. The staff and I would prefer not to have any more curb cuts on Bicentennial for the very reason that we built it for mobility. However, you've got to give a property an ability to access.
Which is the reason you're looking at La Floresta.
Correct.
Correct, and all that is handled at the subdivision phase.
And is that being done right now?
Correct, no, sir.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Go for it. You can sit here. Yeah, go ahead and sit here. We have an existing curb cut, okay, and there's no need for us to do anything but use what's already there, okay? The problems have come in is that the city has gone ahead and approved development north and across the street from us And because of those developments that got approved, they're trying to get us to modify and share a drive. Now, I will tell all of you this. I am more than happy to try to accommodate that city desire of having one entrance where we tee off and go to our respective neighborhoods, and I will donate some of the land to facilitate that for the city's purpose of keeping that a high-speed roadway. But as it stands, I don't need to do that because I've already got the curb cut. La Floresta does not have a curb cut, and they can't go in unless I do something with them. That's the catch-22 here. But I'm not here to argue about them. I'm here to argue about our deal. But I'm willing to work with the city and help facilitate that as a olive branch if we can do what we're asking to do.
Can you address that, or what is there? Or?
Yeah, I'd rather Edgar address that.
I mean, again, that's at subdivision. Obviously, when subdivisions come in, we take them at the existing point in time. And at that time, when La Floresta came in, this subdivision wasn't existing yet, right, or wasn't proposed. Once we have two competing ones, competing for lack of a better term, we look at all that when we analyze and traffic analyzes the impact on Bicentennial and the curb cuts that will be received.
Commission.
Mr. Garcia, what's the zoning immediately north of the subject property? Is that R3T?
R3T, sir, townhomes.
No, Mayor, on this issue, you know, this particular lot, I guess before Bicentennial Boulevard has been zoned residential 1 since 1985.
Correct.
Right, so before Bicentennial, quite honestly, I don't know how anyone got access to that lot. Maybe it was off 10th Street, I don't know, maybe even off Northgate. I think this lot has become more fiscally viable for development now that Bicentennial Boulevard has made its way through that part of town. I completely agree with the overall scheme of our city streets, maintain Bicentennial Boulevard as a high-speed arterial, if I'm not mistaken. But, you know, also at the same time, I'm not trying to use a legal term of art here, but we don't want to have a reverse condemnation of a piece of property that's owned by a property owner, and he has that bundle of sticks to develop that property as he sees fit, as long as it fits the goals and objectives of the local jurisdiction.
And if that's the case, council, do we need to discuss any issues in executive regarding that issue?
I'd be happy to address any legal issues the commission has in executive session.
Well, I think that may raise an issue regarding that. I think we probably should recess into executive session.
I'll make a motion to recess.
We don't need a motion, let's just recess.
Okay, all right.
Ready?
One missing.
Okay, we're back from executive session.
Okay, so, I see now that with the development bicentennial, obviously this lot is becoming a little bit more viable for development, and certainly who are we to interfere with any particular property owner's rights to develop their lot or piece of property as they see fit within the rules and ordinances of the municipality or local jurisdiction. I know that this particular request for rezoning is not that much different from another rezoning that happened maybe 10, 15 years ago. The subdivision is called Colgate Crossing, which is located off North Depot Road, just a little bit north of Auburn. You have the Rock subdivision on the north, Auburn Village to the south. Those were all zone R1. And at one point, Colgate Crossing was in fact zone R1 and became rezoned as R3T, which is the townhouse category. R3A is in the same category as R3T for townhouse, as well as R3C condominium. So there was a lot of discussion way back then. Obviously, I wasn't on the board, but I recall there was a concern about multifamily housing going and being squeezed in. Ultimately, a prior board of the city approved it for R3T, where if there was no viable person or entity of interest to develop at R1, then the only thing that it would default to would be multifamily. I believe this current circumstance for the applicant is not that much different. If in fact it was viable since 1985 to build on R1, I would have think after 40 years someone would have already done that. Obviously, the number of years that transpired show or indicate that it has not even been viable. Bicentennial has been open for 3 years as well. And it's still not viable until we have someone now wanting to develop. And I think we all share the same interest in making sure that our city is being developed with the same vision and forethought, becoming the leading city in South Texas in the Valley. Where we have prime communities, we have communities with retail and shopping and parks and public venues to partake in. And I do believe that our quality of life is unrivaled. I don't believe that a R3A zoning would be such a detriment to that part of town. And I believe Mr. Tejeda is correct that mobile home park was there way before the city limits even hit it. So in a sense, it is grandfathered in. But even if we see in Bellagio, you see part of it is R1, but there's another almost half, which was zoned, I suspect, later R3T. Why? Because apparently it wasn't viable enough based on the economics to continue with R1. I think we have a situation here where this is going to be the exception and not the rule, to where we are minimizing the number of curb cuts to Bicentennial. I don't believe that this is going to have a detrimental effect with the overall traffic flow. I also see that, at least in this current state, the residents of Bellagio only exit and enter through 10th Street. The residents of Northgate only enter and exit through Northgate. And there would only be really maybe potentially 3 subdivisions, Silver Oak, La Floresta, and this proposed lot that would feed into that intersection. I can see, that could be a problem. However, if that node is a little closer to Northgate, I think we're seriously looking at problems in terms of just trying to exit. But it looks like it's at least 800 feet, maybe even 1,000 feet north of that intersection of Northgate and Bicentennial, that I don't believe we're going to have that type of traffic flow. And unfortunately, this lot does not exit 10th Street. I think if it did, we may be having a different conversation about that, but it doesn't. We just have to go with the facts as they are today. I don't know if anybody's ready, but I'm ready to make a motion, and that's a motion to approve the request made by the applicant for rezoning to R3A.
There being a first, is there a second? Do I hear a second? If not, the motion dies for lack of a second.
Thank you, Mayor.
Do I hear any other motions? If there's no motions, no action, dies.
Members of the commission, our community has been
Yeah.
here for the better part of 3 months. We have more than adequate time to listen to their concerns, read their emails, receive their texts. Everybody here, both the applicant and those against the rezoning, have been made an effort to be here again this time. I implore you to please, someone urge or make a motion.
You make a good point there, Commissioner. You made a motion. I'll make a follow-up motion. I'll make a motion to deny the rezoning.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
Motion carries.
To be clear, that's a motion to deny the request.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, what do we have next?
Sir, next item is a conditional use permit for life of the use for a portable food concession stand at 2401 West Highway 83. This property is located on the southwest corner of Business 83 and South 24th. It is zoned I-1. Adjacent zoning is I-1 to the northwest and east, and then R2 to the south. Surrounding uses include businesses, homes, and vacant land. The initial conditional use permit in this location was approved in 2012 and has been issued to different applicants subsequently, the last one being approved in February of 21. The applicant is proposing to use a 100 square foot portable food concession stand as a storage for their on-site food truck. The item was heard at the August 8th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. There was no opposition, and it was unanimously recommended approval for 1 year as opposed to their request, which is life of the use.
Anybody speak against the item? If not, do I hear a motion to approve?
So move to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. May I have a motion to amend the zoning ordinance of the city of McAllen?
Was that for life of the use, or was that for 1 year?
For 1 year.
1 year.
Sorry. Before we do that, Mayor, about amending the zoning ordinance, I just want to note for the record that Commissioner Aguirre and Commissioner Haddad had abstained from item 1B5 on that discussion or vote. Okay. And with that, I make a motion to amend the zoning ordinance as requested.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
Next item is a public hearing and adoption of an ordinance providing for the annexation of 1,288 acres gross at 18,900 North Abram. Again, this property is located on the east side of North Abram. Tract comprised about 1,288 acres. Adjacent properties are all in the city's DTJ. The property was initially zoned AO earlier today, and we are recommending that it be annexed. There have been no calls in opposition.
Anybody here to speak against the item? If not, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
Next item is a public hearing and adoption of an ordinance providing for the annexation of 4.687 acres of land at 13931 North Ware Road. This property is located on the west side of North Ware, approximately 300 feet south of Russell. Again, it does total 4.68 acres. Adjacent properties to the west and south are ETJ, and to the north and east are R1. The property was initially zoned C3 and R2 earlier today. There have been no calls in opposition, and we are recommending annexation.
Anybody here to speak against the item? If not, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
I'll
We have-
abstain from that item as well. It's
sir.
technically the annexation of one of the previous items.
We have consent agenda, items A through K. Do we need to pull anything out?
Motion to approve A to K.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Item 3.
Item 3A and B are emergency purchases, Mayor and Commission, that we recommend approval. There are air conditioning units at the library and at IMAS.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
I pro tem.
3C is consideration approval of emergency repair on the Bicentennial Boulevard noise attenuation barrier.
Mayor Pro Tem and Commission, A concrete wall on Bicentennial sustained damage on two separate automobile impacts resulting from substantial damage. The incident has compromised the barrier structural integrity, and is important to note that the barrier serves as an important component to Bicentennial's Boulevard extension's infrastructure, aiding in noise reduction and ensuring the well-being of residents. The total proposed cost of this emergency repair is $191,079.01, inclusive of all associated expenses required to restore the barrier structural integrity. Staff is working with our legal department to recover costs that we're able to recover through the insurance. Engineering and city staff recommend approval of the funding in the amount of $191,079 with 1 cent for the repair and damages of the noise attenuation barrier, and we open it up for any comments. We've added some pictures at the end just so you can get an idea of what happened to the wall as well.
Can you just say that city attorney's office is looking into getting?
We've got claims against the torque fusers.
Claims against the what?
The people that caused the damage, Commissioner.
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, obviously, there is a long stretch of this barrier. So, we need to be prepared to try to take care of this, and this is the first one, okay? But how can we react a little faster? And now knowing how to do this, and this is an excessive amount, okay? I know we're gonna probably get some back from the insurance of the ones that caused it, but is it unique, so unique that we cannot fix it as fast? And is this cost correct? I mean, that it's that much?
So some of the part of it being unique is it's structurally designed, the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is not typical on a city project. This was funded through federal money. We had to go through an environmental process that required us to put up this noise attenuation wall. This is a design that comes out of TxDOT. So
Right.
one, it's unique to the city as being on a local road. We do have the plans in-house, and we do have the company that helped build that wall, and that's part of the process where we had to go through and get those quotes and get this purchase going. We worked with a contractor. We show you the pricing in the back. This is the actual cost of the wall. We sat down with them to see their mobilization, the hours they put in.
No, it costs money to do.
And so
I realize it.
So the cost is rather high. Part of it is that we have to do the engineering for the structural, and then we have to get that. It's a pre-manufactured wall. We had to get the pre-manufacturer to build that wall and send it in. There's about a 4-week lead time on that. As soon as we can execute this contract.
And in certain areas, would it be feasible to put some type of a guardrail or something? Would that be better in certain areas of the construction of Bicentennial?
Definitely. I've been working with my ACM. We're in this area, the right-of-way kind of starts tapering down. What we're looking at is to see that we have enough right-of-way to install that. If we have enough right-of-way, we think we could get a guardrail installed in this section on the outside of that wall.
And then the lighting. Is there, I know there's lighting in some of the areas, and some of the areas does not have any lighting.
So like we talked about, the right-of-way kind of narrows down. What we're trying to use, or what we're looking into right now with our traffic department, is since there's limited right-of-way, typically we'd get AEP or Magic Valley to install those for us. There's a small little section. We're looking at doing solar lighting to make up that gap. We're working with our traffic department to purchase those and get those installed. For the rest of the stretch, we've installed the lighting. We know it's adequate. This area we can add additional with that solar lighting.
I just also want to say, for the record, staff has tried to figure this thing out, and it's the first time, since it's a new road and new barriers, and it's a learning experience. But I know that we're going to try to make it work out a little better for the residents there in that area, and also to have it a little better lighted and a little, better for security. But it is it is being used, and there will be accidents, just like there's accidents everywhere. But so that's what you have to look at. How can we guard that area?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Next item.
4A is a budget amendment for items 3B and 3C that you just approved.
To move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
5A is consideration of a variance request to not dedicate any street right-of-way for an east-west quarter-mile collector, and 2, to not provide alley for solid waste collection and allow residential bins for a multifamily development at McAllen Oaks North Subdivision, 2701 State Highway 107.
Yes, sir. McAllen Oaks North is a proposed 62-lot multifamily development located on the south side of State Highway 107. There were 2 rezoning requests earlier today, and so now the property has been zoned to R3A. Developer is requesting 2 variances, one to not dedicate for an east-west collector along the southern portion, and initially it was also to not provide alleys for a multifamily development. The first variance is requested due to not having connectivity to the west and to the east. We are recommending approval of that variance. Just before this meeting, we were able to come to an agreement for variance number 2, so at this point, we don't need any action. On variance number 2, we will be having centralized pickup locations. So at this point, we would just be recommending approval of the right-of-way variance.
That's the workshop that we had earlier, right?
That is correct, sir.
On the
Motion.
alleys and all that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Motion to approve as to
Second.
variance 1.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Managers report.
6A is the discussion of 2023 proposed tax rate. Take a record vote and schedule a public hearing and meeting to adopt the tax rate.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Commission. So for fiscal year 23-24, the proposed rate is 0.457 per 100 valuation. In order to follow procedure, we must take record vote. After that, we'll be publishing a notice of public hearing on a tax increase. And the only reason that it's going to state tax increase is because the proposed rate is 0.457285 per 100. But the no new revenue tax rate is 0.435399. Therefore, we must publish a public hearing on a tax increase. After that, we will hold the public hearing, and you will vote on the tax rate. We have set the public hearing on the proposed tax rate to be on September the 25th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. At 5 o'clock in the same meeting, City Commission chambers. And even though, like I stated, the proposed rate is not higher than last year's tax rate, because it is higher than the new revenue tax rate, we must follow procedure. So at this time, everyone must vote for or against this proposed rate.
So the procedure is to put out in the newspaper that we're going to have an increase.
And notice of public hearing
Even
increase.
though that we're really not going to have an increase in tax rate, but we're hopefully going to lower our tax rate, correct?
Correct.
But yet, we're still probably going to receive hundreds of calls from our community that are going to be angry at us,
Correct.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, hopefully they understand that we're going to hopefully decrease the tax rate. But, okay.
Is decreasing by 2 points?
It's a difference of 0.02615 compared to last year's tax rate.
Reduction.
Yes, reduction.
Move to approve.
2.2 cents reduction.
Yes, sir.
Which
So-
is about a 4% reduction.
Yes, it is a 4.71%.
4 points. So can we put that like next to the notice of an increase?
The notice will state all that. It's going to state the total tax rate from last year,
Yes,
this
but I also
year.
remember that the top of it says notice of a tax increase, which is not.
Well, I understand, but the reason it is a notice of
Just
tax,
I understand.
the wording is because the no new revenue tax rate is less than the proposed rate.
Make a motion to approve, and you need a record?
We need a record,
This is by
yes.
record vote.
Yes.
So we have to do one by one.
Is there a second?
Second.
Rudy?
Aye.
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 Okay, so just to rephrase that,
Aye.
There's 8 yeses.
In between
Maybe
each
9.
person.
Maybe 9 yeses. Put that in the paper.
Tony really left.
so we will hold, like I stated, we will hold a notice of public hearing on tax increase on September,
September 23rd, 5 p.m.?
September 25th. And at the same meeting, you will be voting for the tax rate immediately following the public hearing.
And another record vote, correct?
Another record
That's
vote,
what I
yes,
thought.
that is
We'll get it right
correct.
the next time. I mean,
Any other
in order.
questions?
Thank you.
We're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sochi, do some magic and inform the community what's going on. Okay, Immigration Respite Center report.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the Commission. In the report given on the August 14th meeting, the numbers for the first and second week in August were 3,425 and 3,156 respectively, with about a 6.6 positivity rate. During the third week of August, we saw about 3,725 immigrants and about 3,513 in the fourth week of August. It does constitute a slight uptick. However, the positivity rate dropped to about 4%. We have a population of under 100 at Ansel Lewis Park, and the capacity remains around the 2,000 mark. I want to entertain any questions.
Any questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Future agenda items. Okay, if not, items or executive session, Counselor?
Mayor, with respect to item 7A1, I recommend the City Commission consider a motion authorizing city manager and city attorney to take those steps reasonable and necessary to sell, or reasonable and necessary to prepare to sell the real property on the terms described in executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Next item.
Mayor, with respect to item 7A2, I recommend the City Commission consider a motion authorizing city manager and city attorney to negotiate the purchase of the property on the terms described in the executive session.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
Mayor, with respect to item 7B1, I recommend the City Commission take no action.
Okay.
With respect to item 7C, I recommend the City Commission consider a motion authorizing the city attorney to defend the city in the pending litigation.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
Do you want authority to take, to do some work on 7B1?
Yes, I think I would prefer that we are authorized to not accept the offer as described in executive session.
That's a
motion.
That's a reasonable motion.
Okay.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. That's all we have, Counselor?
Mayor, the next item on the agenda is adjournment.
Well, before we adjourn, I think we had a birthday this past Friday, Commissioner. Sonora, happy birthday. And I forgot to announce it in the beginning, I apologize.
Thank you, everyone.
And there being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.
Regular City Commission meetings are held on the second and fourth Monday of each month. Meetings are rebroadcast on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays on the McAllen Cable Network.
Recognizing the 25th anniversary of the Hidalgo County Family Violence Task Force, I have a small group that wants to come forward.